So the idea of this is, I by no means would call myself an expert in vocals. I just happen to be involved in working with a lot of vocalists. I develop artists. So I'm constantly doing demos. For a while, I was in the terrible, pit of darkness that is trying to write songs for major label artists and artists who are on development deals, and it can be a vacuum of torture. Anyway, I've had to I've answered a lot of emails with notes about make the vocal bigger, whatever that means, or it needs to be sparklier, and so this is my decryption of that and the techniques that I've sort of arrived at from 5, 6, 7 years of doing this stuff in my studio in Toronto. My approach for as a producer when I'm coming to a track or a track that I made or whatever is to I'll listen to lots of reference material. I'm always listening to music from all kinds of different eras, and I think about how do I want the journey of this vocal to happen? Do I want it to be centered and small in the beginning and wide in the chorus? Do I want to do the opposite of that? Do I want it to be filtered? Do I want to chop the voice up and to play a part of the production? A lot of that kind of Bieber stuff and stuff you hear on the radio does a lot of that these days. But it's about getting your mind, listening really closely to the vocals. Where does it sit in the mix? How does it move over the different parts? How does it feel? What is the shape of it? So the first thing I try to do is imagine what does the finished version of this look like? So if I'm recording an artist in my studio, I make a record track, which is just all of my vocal chain goes into the record track, and then there is basically what I hope that the finished version of the song will look like. So it'll be lead vocal, lead double. If I want it to go wide in the chorus, chorus left, chorus right, low harmony, 1, 2, 3, mid harmony, 1, 2, 3, high harmony, 1, 2, 3. If I want a telephone voice at one point, I'll do that. If I want a little Prefuse 73 choppy part, I'll just make a track for it, even though if I haven't fully conceived of that idea, but that's where I think I'm going. Is I try and have all of the resources there so that I can be, as the artist is recording and we're gathering the performance, we can chop it and put the pieces in where we think that it should go. Comping vocals, if anyone who's done it, is takes forever, and it's not the funnest part of it. It's not it's not pure music by any means. It's gonna get very tedious. But so I'll try and comp stuff. If I find something really good vibey part of the song, I'll grab it as it's coming in, and then I'll move that track that we've just recorded to just like a dead muted holder track. So then I have all of this raw material, but I'm kind of trying to comp as I go. And then hopefully shortly after we've gathered all of that stuff, I'll tell the artist to go have a coffee or whatever other vice they need to indulge, and I'll try and get that comp in as best position as it can kind of be, so that all of the raw material is there. Now the sort of process after that is that you deal with tuning and timing, which is sometimes you work with the artist who has 45 minutes to cut the record and are leaving, or you may never get to work with, you may have a vocalist come in over the course of these 2 weeks that you have access to them for 20 minutes, and what you get is what you get. Or if you're working as a mixing engineer, what you get is what you get. I'm by no means the evangelist for auto-tuning everything. I think that it's a tool like compression is. It can be used as an effect. It can be used as, to do really interesting things on instruments. Ultimately, you are trying to show the artist in the best light and get the record sounding as good, if not better, than anything else they can hear anywhere. There's maybe four big tools that people, I'm not going to talk about this forever because, again, this is not the auto-tune course, but there's Antares Auto-Tune, there's Waves Tune, there is Melodyne, and there is Isotope Nectar. I mainly use Waves Tune because I find that it is the most natural sounding. I find that if you take a note and you're like, this melody is dope, but like it should go to the fifth here instead of the third, or it should go up. It should, like, on the last chorus, we didn't get it, but like it would be really good if they resolved to a different note in the melody. I find that Waves Tune, of the three of them, sounds the most natural, the hardest you push it. So it still like sounds natural and can be a creative, like as a producer, it can be a creative thing to, like, after the song is written and recorded, you can still mess with the melody and it sounds natural if you need to do that. And auto-tune is just, I mean, if you want T-Pain, if you want Young Thug, and I'm sure that later on in the week someone will tell me that it's much more complicated than this. But you dial it to 10 and you get the robot voice. Everyone gets turned up. Then we get to timing, which, again, hopefully you're getting the best performance, rhythmic performance, but beyond just the artist's regular rhythm is, there's a tool, and I feel like if you've done any research, unless you've gone and worked in a studio that makes top 40 records, you don't learn about this tool. Any of these, like these big mixers talking about how they get this vocal sound or whatever, they will never talk about this, but everybody uses it. And this is this program called VocALign. It's made by a company called Synchro Arts. It's a plugin that's used for movies. It's like when you have to replace a line of dialogue in a movie, and Tom Cruise comes in to say whatever. Jack Reacher will be back, blah, 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 and to match up with the performance he gave on the day, is you can take one piece of audio, point it to a guide audio, and it will like do all this digital shit to make it perfectly in time with that thing. It's useful for music because if you have someone who only has one set of vocal cords now has 32 sets of vocal cords, and they're perfect. This is the like I'm trying to think of like you hear it on the radio all the time. Like there's like I kind of think of it as like the Katy Perry voice or something. It's like this ultra superhuman kind of like, it sounds like otherworldly, but it's not auto-tuney. It's just like you have this voice that doesn't sound like it came from a human. It's like we get into this process of recording where if you want to get to that. It's really good for backup vocals. Anytime you do that in a normal way, you get lots of layers and you can mash them up. You can make them super tight. You can make them a little bit looser. If you want a really powerful lead, it's like we'll do takes where I'll say to the singer, I was like, okay, give me this one like really in your head voice. So like really whispery, or like the really like high sparkly part of your voice, like up here. You singers know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Not necessarily in a different octave though either. Just literally sing the same thing, but using that part of your voice. We'll do 4, maybe even 8 layers of that. Then we'll go low, super chest voice. So everything below here, like same thing. Finishing it. Here we go. We'll do maybe 4 passes of that, and then once they're good and warmed up, we'll try and get the full voice at like the tightest rhythm that you can. Your mix, like singing in the mix, is something that they talk about with singers, is like, which is the mixture of both of those things. But we're gonna like augment that by like actually having you sing in your head voice, sing in your chest voice, and mixing it with your full mix, and then throwing it through VocALign, and everything gets super tight, and you get this like you could sing at the Super Bowl. Like you're this creature. You're like a Jupiter 8 versus I don't know, what shitty synth. Microcork versus Jupiter 8. Thank you. This is where we get into the realm of like, everyone does this differently. This is what I do. Hopefully it makes you think of your own approach to it. But like, this is like, I call it like getting the vocal on its feet. It's like, how am I going to process this to like start to get it to be from just a microphone into a preamp to like something that's really shining in the mix. So the first thing I do after any tuning stuff or blah, 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 is I'll usually use an SSL channel, the Waves plugin, which is basically just a plugin version of what's here. I really love like records, the way the records sound from the late 80s and early 90s, when everyone had a ton of money to make records in big rooms in LA, and they were mixing them on SSL consoles. And so the SSL EQ to me just like imparts this, even though it's very clean, and it has this thing that instantly when I put that channel on and I like give it a little tiny like high-end stuff, it just starts to feel like a Tony Braxton record or something, which is exactly what I'm going for most of the time. And then I'll go into an 1176 plugin. Like on here we have the CLA. So Tony, do you want to play the pre-chorus? This is the pre-chorus dry, and then we'll listen to a section of it, and then we'll listen to it with the 1176 popped in. The 1176, for anyone who doesn't know, is, there's probably one in the rack here. Yeah, on the top of the rack here we have one. The compressor from the 70s, big transformer bass thing. I'm not like an electrical engineer. All I know is it's got like tons of mojo. It has all of the ratios on this compressor they're stepped. So there's a button for 4-to-1, there's a button for 8-to-1, there's a button for 12-to-1, and there's a button for 20-to-1. They lock into position. The like super rock and roll thing to do is push all of the buttons in, and it like multiplies the amount of compression. Okay. So if you want to, like if you're mixing Metallica, but even if you're not, even if you just want loads of power, you can like go all buttons in on that thing, and it'll like really smash it, and it sounds awesome. This is the pre-chorus without the 1176, then we'll like pop it in with the 1176 plug-in version, all buttons in.
Okay.
Every time I see you, get this thing inside. Every time I'm near you, I don't wanna hide. Every time you touch me, babe, I feel your vibe. You know you give me so much in life.
Okay, smack it.
Every time I see you, get this thing inside. Every time I'm near you, I don't wanna hide. Every time you touch me, babe, I feel your vibe. You know you give me so much in life. Wait.
Okay. So that's just the 1176 in. You hear there's like kind of high harmonic stuff that comes in. It just like, it gets like a little crushier. The way that the 1176 works is, if you see the plugin here, there's there's just an input and an output knob. It basically works, the more you compress, if you turn the input up and the output down, you'll compress it harder. There's like it's basically an imaginary threshold that's somewhere in there, and the harder, if you want it to compress more, you turn the input up and the output down so that you don't totally clip out. But you can get it to be with all buttons in, and you can do some like super heavy metal shit with that. So that's those SSL channel with a little bit of EQ into that. That's usually where I start, and usually things start getting kind of cool. Something that you guys, well, me too, because I end up doing these vocals in hotel rooms or in like a back room of my friend's house, or like, I have to do something quick and it's on like a a cheap interface with a cheap mic. And I also receive vocals from people who have recorded stuff on a cheap mic on a cheap preamp. There's another plugin from Isotope called Trash 2, which is mainly like a super mangly distortion plugin. And it works like if you do any mastering of your own tracks, they have like a yeah, this is what it looks like. If you do any mastering, they have the Ozone suite, which is like, it has all of these different modules, like digital modules that are used for mastering. This kind of works the same way, except that it's for fucking your sound up. It has a filter first. It has the Trash module, which is a multi-band, it's like a multi-band wave shaper. If you want to go like power, like dead mouse kind of kick that will like blow the flesh off someone's face, you can go into that and like really just crank it up. It's really crazy. The convolve module works just like there's convolve reverbs where they'll like play you can kind of sample a room. You can play a pulse in a room and measure it and use that pulse to basically the recording of how this pulse it plays in the room. You can apply that to another sound to approximate the reverb of the room or the character of the room. This does the same thing except with very weird things like monkey sounds, like shovels hitting bricks. It sounds like most of the time it's not as cool. As cool as the idea is, the result is not exactly as awesome as you would think it is. But it does some weird stuff, and it has a dynamic switch, which is just a compressor basically, and then it has a delay. You can turn on or off any of those modules. You can get to places with this one. If I was on a desert island and they were like, you can have one fun plugin for like sound design, this might be it. Like especially if you're making any kind of like aggressive music, or you like to incorporate aggressive into your Tony Braxton-esque songs. But there is this has a load of, as many things do, presets and stuff. There's a preset in this called Clarity, which I have set up, which I'm always using for like anytime I have something that's recorded on a bad preamp and I need to kind of sharpen it up. It's like my pencil sharpener for songs, because it doesn't impart like a distortion-like character. It just makes things crisp in a way that is really awesome. It's also really good for like if you sample stuff off of YouTube in a like 64 kilobyte, like a really crap sample rate or something, and you're just like, this is just too lo-fi. There's another thing that I use once in a while. There's a Waves plugin, the Maserati, I think it's called a VRM. So Tony Maserati, who's a mixing engineer, who's done everything, like Beyonce is all you need to know. He made these little kind of like quick go-to plugin things. I don't know exactly what they all do. There's some very obvious things like delay and reverb, but there's a vocal one, and in the like bottom corner, again, it's not loading on here for some reason, but there's these three little buttons called contours, and contour number 3 switches one of the buttons to something called air. So if you want this super airy, Sade, everything but the girl, a Luna George kind of like airiness that you just need to add that extra thing. I just find that plugin does that really well. The last thing though is I'm going to talk about this guy. If you can't see it, it's on my. Bleh. This is the Eventide H. This is actually the H3500. This is the last in a series of H3000 multi-effects units from the 80s. This box is magic. Like, it has so much mojo, it's crazy. I first heard this at a broadcast studio, the CBC. I had a rap group that I had produced, and they performed on a TV show when I was like 17 or something. And I went, and suddenly everything sounded like they had never sounded better, like immensely better. And I was like, what? Like, I went to the sound guy. I was like, "What did you do to this guy's voice? Like, this is it's insane." And he was like he shook his ponytail and he was just like, "What?" And and I was like, "What is that thing?" And he said, "It's a H3000." And I was like, "What is it doing? Tell me more." And he's like, "This has reverbs. It has loads of stuff, but there's this one setting on this called micro pitch shift, which to me is like." This thing became the ubiquitous, like the go-to digital, like multi-effects processor in like, it came out in '86. This is the last revision. There was like 6 or 7 revisions and they added more algorithms every time. This thing, like, what it does is it takes the signal that you put into it, makes a copy, and slight, like in like micro sense, pitches it up. And then it slightly micro pitches it down, which you're kind of thinking like chorusy, and you're in the right ballpark, but it's kind of like so much more magic than that. And then it goes through like a feedback loop, and you send any vocal through this, and you just start to like bring it in, and you go from like this is a well EQ'd vocal that I recorded in my bedroom to like this is a voice on the radio. Like it makes things kind of like wider. It makes things kind of sparkle. It's like most of what this thing does is pure magic to me. It does a ton of other things. Like sometimes when I have a track that's like everything is in this track, but it does not feel finished. I don't know what this needs. I'll send a hi-hat to a random patch on this that's doing some kind of backward sampling and flip. Like I have no idea what it's doing, and suddenly the track feels complete. There's plug-in versions of it. If you know the Sound Toys plugins, the guys who made that company designed this thing in the 80s. So a lot of their ideas they've like shifted over. They actually made a micro pitch Sound Toys thing that like approximates what this does. The thing that those don't do that this does is like this is like primitive digital technology. I think that there's like very primitive like converters or something in it that just like impart this mojo where things sit in the mix better. It doesn't feel digital. It just feels like expensive. I use this thing all the time. We're gonna do the A-B thing again. We'll play the vocal without the trash. We don't need the trash, but with the CLA on. So this is without the H3000.
Every time I see you, get this thing inside. Every time I'm near you, I don't wanna hide. Every time you touch me, babe, I feel your vibe. You know you give me so much in life. Wait.
So that's with loads of it. You can kind of mix it to taste, and you can use different amounts of it in different parts of the song. It's again, there's like different plugins that try and approximate that, and you can do it with those things, and you'll get more or less the effect. The real thing to me is like there's some extra thing that I think that my working theory is that it has these primitive like 16-bit converters from 1986 that just, I don't know, they were like blessed by a genie or something, and they just like it just sounds amazing. After I have all that stuff up, the last thing that I'll do is, again, I put my producer hat. This is my producer hat, in case you're wondering why I'm like, this is the flowers represent all the ideas coming out. No, put my producer hat back on and try and figure out the ways, like I've got all this great sounding raw material of vocals. How do I use this like super interesting, unique instrument to like augment what I've done as a producer? Chop stuff up. Can I like throw it through loads of crazy effects? I'm always going to the Sound Toys stuff where I'm like, I want to do something crazy with this voice and just like make a part or an instrument that like can only exist in the realm of this track. So like I think we threw this thing through the Echo Boy, and I just dialed up this. Do you guys use the Sound Toys stuff? Have you played with it? It's awesome, right? Like, so yeah, throw that on there.
Very creative. Okay, so again, without.
No, just play it with it on. We've heard the lots of times. Ableton is really good for like doing this kind of VST audio unit thing, and like I think the saturators sound really good. I'll go surfing in the presets. I'll like record stuff. You can like, you know about freeze and flatten in Ableton. It's like if you find something that's really cool, you can make a copy of the channel, go freeze, and then right-click freeze, and then right-click flatten, and it'll just make a new audio track of the thing with that, and then I'll start chopping that up. Reverse that. Put that new thing into a sampler, play it on a keyboard. Find the parts that like, make the track kind of just make the vocal like support the track, and the track support the vocal more. Then I'll do the delay throws and reverb hits, and I'll just do pass after pass where like on this word it should go to a quarter note delay. So I'll have a bus. I usually have a bus set, like a return setup for like a short delay, and another one for like a quarter note delay, or like it might be like a triplet delay depending on what the vibe of the track is. The slap is usually like around, it's like below 100 milliseconds, and it does kind of an H3000-y type thing too, but it's more of a widening thing, less a like pitchy thing. And that's also really good for like lead instruments. If you're like have a synth that just needs to like command more attention, is like I'll send it through to this like really short slap, and like it gives it like body and stuff. I usually put like an EQ before those things. I think they call it the Abbey Road, the Abbey Road technique or whatever. It's like you put on your auxiliary. Beatles whatever. You like throw an EQ in front of it and like cut all the lows out before it goes to the reverb, so that your reverb tails are like really high pitched and cool. Or you can just like dial out the fundamentals of the melody and just get like the kind of puffiness of the reverb. Or you can put filters in front of it and make the reverb kind of swirl around. I'm always doing crazy stuff like that.
Another thing, how do you usually approach like working with the vocalist, like in the recording session, like in terms of like a human relationship, like directing them?
It's a good question.
I think it's important.
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, it's like trying to get them comfortable is obvious, but like, the beginning is like you're kind of, as a guy who runs the studio as well as the producer, like you're kind of be the concierge of the hotel a little bit. Like, can I bring you a tea? Can I be like blah 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 blah? Do you need weed? Do you need wine? Do you need are the lights okay? Like, do you want me to print the lyrics for you? Like that's just the basic housekeeping thing. The actual like, I did a lot of research for a while into this very subject of like taking cues from like improv comedy troupes and like film directors and stuff. And this gets to be a very esoteric conversation, but you're coaching a performance, and actors like, the worst thing you can do to an actor is say it like this. Like, go ahead, punk, make my day. That's the worst thing you can say to an actor. The best way to get a performance out of someone, seeming from in my research or whatever, is like to give a singer an as if. Mm-hmm. Sing the song as if, as if you can't move your lips. Just try, like, give them a physical thing, make all the bone, make every muscle in your body as tight as you can, and sing this line. Try sing this as if you're new, like you just got a new dog. Sing this you hate dogs? Even better. Like, the as if thing, and you can get like sing this as if you are Batman. Sing this as if you are Mariah Carey. Sing this as if you are, like, show me your best, I don't know, like Beyonce out on this one or whatever. Like, there's these kind of like shorthands.
Sing like Beyonce.
Yeah. Just sing, do this take more Beyonce. No, that doesn't work. But there, in talking to performers, there's like, it's just like, it's not hard to get them there. Like, it's just like finding what, like, because what you can kind of like access their instrument with, like what the thing they connect to is. The other thing is like transitive verbs work really well. I literally have a list of verbs with me most of the time of like, seduce me.
Right.
Like, that was good. You're not seducing me. Seduce me on this one. Challenge me on this one. Like, punish me on this one. It doesn't necessarily directly like correspond to how a singer sings, but like it's a way to like engage somebody's mind and their instrument in a way other than, okay, let's take it from the top.